Hey you guys, I don't know how much of this I will be able to get recorded, nor am I sure if you guys can even hear me over the fan in the bathroom where I'm at. Anyway, but I do want to be able to start a dialogue with you guys. I don't know if you're like me, but if you're like me, you watch a lot of true crime type of things, right? So these are one of my favorite things to watch. In fact, I've even gotten involved with watching the prison TikTok or prison YouTube and stuff like that, right? I'm just wondering what effects that has on the human psyche, because some of these stories, while it is third party and it doesn't necessarily affect us personally, what the stories are, I think that when we're watching it, we don't necessarily process the fact that this happened to somebody. I did read somewhere during the pandemic that people tend to watch true crime because in some way, somehow, they are happy that they're not the ones who've committed the crimes that they're watching or they're indulging in. And so I feel like that could be a reason why it's so entertaining. You know what I'm saying? And with people being so like easily projecting, you know, like just society today, it is, you know, probably nice to hear that someone lost their temper in a road rage situation and you're watching it on TV or the news and you weren't there to be, one, the victim, or two, the actual offender. So I could see that. Which even then, is that the healthiest way to address it? I don't know. I do think that it is possible that we could have a mistrust for one another, whether that's rightfully so or not, when we do partake in true crime, because we just never know who we're around. And that can lead to some type of paranoia, some type of fight or flight reaction in our everyday lives, specifically in times where it's not necessary. Because I know something in my spirit just isn't feeling comfortable with looking at crime scene photos, overhearing the 911 calls. You know, we're looking at the criminals in their face after they've done it. We're looking at the victims, and spiritually, all of those things I feel like are relevant to our spirit. And I just don't think that it's proper spiritual hygiene to intake that information. In taking that type of information, as dark as some of the situations might be, like, I just feel like it cannot be healthy. I've been watching this stuff for years. Like, I would even watch it as a child while playing around while my mom's watching TV. Like, so I would pay attention to it slightly based off of her watching it. I tend to go on YouTube and, you know, subscribe to my favorite channels and or participate in suggested, recommended videos that show up on the YouTube timeline, right? And so because I'm like working a lot of hours, sometimes very long hours, I will use these videos, maybe they're 45 minutes or to an hour or longer. And so I use this to, you know, help with the time to pass and stuff like that. And so today, the stories that I was listening to were just more darker and more difficult to hear than any day that I've ever just sat there and listened to it. Granted, I have heard some really dark stories, which is someone's truth, right? And so anyway, I just want to pose the conversation, not necessarily just to you guys, but even to myself. So another thing I thought to myself is like, there's a lot of times where I tell my kids, no, turn that off, right? And I'll say to them that it's not necessarily to control you, it's to maintain the purity of your subconscious. And so for me, when we're talking about like, you know, reparenting yourselves and stuff like that, like I said, me watching true crime did become a thing initially when I was a child watching it with my mom. I've experienced where when my son was younger, my oldest son, how he had woken up from a nightmare based on watching a YouTube video with his cousin. He had watched some type of SpongeBob on 1000 and he just woke up really frantic and upset. The moral of the story is I knew at that point that stuff can really come back, you know, and haunt you. Not to say I've ever thought it was a good idea to let kids watch like horror movies or anything, but my point is it showed me right then and there that type of stuff it doesn't take but one time for it to get in your subconscious, and now it is a part of certain things that you're thinking about and or able to review even in your sleep. I'm always telling them, no, don't watch that, hey, turn that off, etc. Or, you know, this is why you're not allowed to watch what other people are able to watch, and or you're wanting to watch X, Y, and Z, but you're not allowed to watch X, Y, and Z because of X, Y, and Z. To continue the process of watching it and being entertained in it, I just feel like it can't be healthy. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not even the one who initiated the enjoyment in it. And so maybe it's something to consider for myself and or whomever else can relate it, because I mean, it just doesn't feel like the most healing, peaceful information to intake. Like, you know, we are what we think. I'd love to hear what you think about it in the comments below. If you agree or if you don't agree, if this is just a me thing. See you in the next video.